Okay, this is how I love to start off. I like to show the paper who's the boss, so to speak. It knows right away. That paper knows what I'm doing. I know it's kind of a psychological thing, but it works for me. And it's a beginning. And I love to work from life. I have since, gosh, oh, that's me chattering there underneath that thing. Anyway, I love to work from life. I've done it since I was, God, single digit age. But here I go. And the most important part is accuracy. You got to get the accuracy right at the beginning. And because if you don't, you're going to be the mistakes, you're going to have to try to fix them. And I know what you see right there is too much this, too much that, but, it'll work it out. Uh, I'm not measuring too much, but what you see is very loose detail, so to speak. Now, let me tell you about accuracy, and it's very important. A lot of people are against it because they think, well, a photograph, well, okay, let me tell you about accuracy. Accuracy is when Richard Burton plays Hamlet. He gets all the words right, he learns them, but he puts himself into it. Same with Sir Laurence Olivier. Or when you're doing a Broadway musical, you stick to the music and you stick to the lyrics and stage directions and all that accurate, but you put your personality into it. So when you see this, you're seeing I'm being quite accurate with it, but at the same time, you see me in it. And anybody that sees a picture, they say, "Oh yeah, that's Harley's," and that's the way we are. And getting sloppy does not mean you're get. A lot of artists will get sloppy, and then they'll say, "Well, I was getting into the character." Well, let me put it this way: a psychiatrist can't get into a character in months. How can an artist do it within a few minutes? So it's that's my philosophy. Now you see the dark against the light. I have the light face there, the nose, the indentation at the top of the nose, the eyes, the shaping of where the eyes are. And what happened here is I got flat lighting, so uh, there's no great lights and darks within the face. It's more the face against the background. And that's Ashely there, being very good, actually. Very uh, obedient with her sitting. And okay, here's some light, the skin color against and against the dark. I love, the human face. One of the great thrills is working the features of the face, the nose, the forehead, and such, when you're doing a side view. God, I can't think of anything more beautiful than a profile of a person. And, it just is such a natural for an artist to try to, well, interpret accurately. It looks a little ragged right now, but then that's part of the buildup. Uh, you can just hear me jabbering away here, and I don't mind, if you don't mind. But you see a face beginning to form very slowly. She looks a little too old there, but we'll work it out. The nose and such. But you see right away the features are beginning to appear very slowly. Oh, let's get that nose a little more sticking out. There we are. That in the nose. And of course, there's the nostril. And what I'm doing there is kind of getting rid of a lot of the thickness of the pastel so that I can work on top of it. But right away, you're starting to see somebody come alive. And there's no secrets to it. No secrets. All you have to do is take your time. And I've spent, I don't know, what, 20, 25 minutes on this total. And, I'm not putting in color. All I'm doing is shapes. She has a slight little bump in her nose there, which is beautiful. It's the way many of the actresses have that slight little bump there. But you have to look at that and fine tune it like a doctor working on a brain operation, or, whatever people in the science world or in the art world. Just take your time. Know that nobody's watching you do this. You don't have to become dramatic with it. You just take your time. And you're actually, as you start to build, your emotions within will start to make these wonderful things happen, from the emotions and the feeling of aesthetics, the things that you've done all the years that you can't get there's times that I just can't, I honestly can't do without a pencil and a paper. Well, once a day at least. To me, that's like drinking our standard amount of water. And honestly, this is the truth. When I do a drawing, and I can feel low and all of it, but when I do a drawing, and if it's within just the first few seconds, and this is since I was a kid, it has not changed, and it's 100%. I feel so much better with myself emotionally. It's not because I did a great work of art. That depends. It's that I'm there doing what I love to do. I'm creating. And my mind is flowing. Just take a few seconds there and look at what old Harl's doing there with the chin and the. It's beginning to look like. It's beginning. It sort of has a kind of an Ashely sort of look to it, but with the forehead. Now, you're seeing, when you saw Ashely in the background, you see as much as I do. What you do is put down what you see. But like when we're using words that were given to us and we learned, but the way we put together those words is personal. And the way we put those strokes down, that I put them down, they're personal and built from many, many years of, doing what I do. Art. Now the mouth, the edge, how dark is it? The upper lip, the lower lip. And you can see a lovely lady beginning to form there. I'm not going to put in the lipstick and all of I don't think she has any, but I'm just keeping it shapes. And I think there's a lot learned from just seeing those shapes appear, light against dark. The neck, the chin, the neck goes down there slight. You can see it, the line there, just very slightly. And you see that the darker tone against the light, that's part of art. Dark against light. Values. Values and shapes. If I was to put down two words in art, values and shapes. Values from light to dark. Shapes I don't look at that as a nose. I look at that as a shape. So anatomically, yes, we know it's a nose, but I look at it as that I'm looking for the shape of it. Oh, the head, the hair, the skull under the hair. But the hair is puffed out a bit. And it's light. As you can see, it's as light as the skin on Ashely. But you can see what, I'm fussing with it a bit, but you can see what I've done all my life. And I've enjoyed and there's no two, even if I was to do Ashely, let's say if I was to do her 10 more times, each one would be different. Even if I was to do that same 10 more times, the profile, it's just humanly impossible to make it the same, like a printing press. Whatever the feeling we have, if I was to come back and do it again in 2 hours, and I would enjoy it the second the time, the third, the fourth, the fifth. But those angles also, look at the angles that we have there. That gives movement to a painting, to a drawing. You can see her there. She's being very good. Looking at the forehead, the tip of the forehead. I think I should bring the hair up a bit at the back. Could be the angle that we're looking at it. But that's it. What you're doing, gosh almighty. I wish I'd seen things like this when I was in learning, you know. That's such a good angle that we have there of me working. And I'm sure I'm chattering in the background there. Maybe that's more interesting than what I'm saying. But I'm giving you the feeling of what is going through my mind visually as I see that shape. You can see that my mind is saying, oh, maybe I better bring this back a bit, or maybe darken this, or maybe the angle's not right, the chin, the cheek. All of those things are going through my head, the brain cells, millions of times, if you understand the brain and how it works. There's soft edges and there's hard edges. There's lost edges and there's found edges. Edges are important. I'm looking. I'm putting down what I see, and I'm trying to, get that accuracy in. But I think it's, by golly, I think it's beginning to look a little bit like Ashely. Sometimes we artists will make us, and this is part of just, I guess, our arrogance, that sometimes if something is curved, we'll we'll flatten it a bit, just to give it maybe, I guess I do it naturally, style, or whatever you want to call it. If there's a curve somewhere, I'll flatten it in certain areas. Not for the features of the face, but maybe for folds and such. We're allowed to, because we've done something many times, we're allowed to push it like you're pushing part of the second movement of a Beethoven concert. You can push it a bit, keeping the notes right and such. But if you really want to see one of the grandest, and there's many, 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 listen to Vladimir Horowitz's, and he's done many performances of it, Rachmaninoff's Number 3. I remember hearing that, oh gosh, when I was a kid, and I still hear the same one, and it never. It's when you're in love with something that's real and wonderful, you don't fall out of love. I've never, ever had a day that I didn't like art in some sort. Maybe looking at it, thinking about it, writing about it, doing it. Art is the case where we create. Now, as you see here, it's just simply I'm putting light against dark with her features. I know the hair, I didn't shape it and all that. It's not been shaped but I'm getting what I want to get at this point. And as I would spend another hour, then I'd start to put in certain things, the hair, the folds in the hair, and so on and so forth. And anyway, you see what we're after, and you see I'm kind of getting it. I see her at a different angle than you are. My head is up higher, and I'm at a different angle towards what you're seeing. But we're together on this, I think, aren't we? You and I, you, the viewer, and I. You're kind of drawing with me, like you get involved with a film. You're in there with the heroine or the hero or whoever's on the screen, and you can empathize with that person. But as you see, I try to get things right at the beginning so that I don't have to correct. And you can see that when you're seeing it at an angle, it narrows the face just slightly. So that's impossible to get it where my eye is because I have a camera in my eye. So you're seeing it at a slight angle. So there we are. We're getting close to where I think if I was going any further, I'd rather you see what I've begun with. And I think I've shown how I often would, start a work, kind of just laying it down. And in certain areas, I don't do much more. And in other areas, like in the eyes, I would do a lot more. But you see, now I have the basics, and I can work on those basics. And by golly, uh, I've got a lot to work with. Good to work with. I don't have to do any correcting. And what am I going to do? A couple of little highlights that are in there. Yeah, the cheek. Uh, don't make it too much, Harley. Don't overdo it. And there we are. We're getting close to what we're after. Here I'm jabbering on and on. I think you're getting more just looking. But I think I explained a few things. And you don't want to overdo. And with highlights, very, very important with highlights. Don't make them all equal. If you walk away with nothing else, that's the one. Don't make all highlights equal. Maybe the one on the cheek. Because when we look at them, sometimes our eye kids us. Sometimes I'll look at one highlight that's the biggest highlight, and the other ones are a little more diffuse when I compare back and forth, back and forth. So it will ruin even the best drawing, or the best painting, if you do equal highlights. It will right away when somebody looks at it. It takes away the drama of the face. It gives it an amateurish look. So remember that one thing. Shapes and values. Values meaning lights and darks. And so when I'm doing something, if I'm doing a cow or a house or whatever, all I'm looking at is not the structure, I'm looking at the shapes. Same with the face. I'd love to know what's going on in my mind right now there, but I don't. That's a different Harley there. That's not a different Harley. That's a different day Harley. And I'm sure that I'm thinking, well, ooh, I better fix that into the nose. Just better fuss just a little bit in there. As you can see with pastel, I also like to use my fingers to give soft edges, hard edges, and to take areas away. But you saw this right from the beginning, and it looked pretty crude then. But it was how I built it up, very lightly, softly, easily. But I know that I've seen areas where an artist will look at their model just a little bit, just a tiny wee sliver of a look, and then spend most time looking at their painting. I keep looking at the model. The model's got so much to offer. It's like, well, it's the same thing as when somebody is doing anything in the arts. Part of yourself is in it, and part of what you're given is in it. In art here, I'm given my subject. In music, you're given the music. Beethoven, Brahms, and you work with it. And your emotion, your feelings, and the feelings of that day can affect. It's absolutely, if those who are not in art don't understand the pure joy and fulfillment that one gets with what they're doing, what we artists and they are doing. When you see them, you often see somebody at the end of a long play, and they stand up there and they bow, and that you know they're exhausted, but you know that they're totally fulfilled. I've talked to many that have been in that world, singers and so on, and they say that what they deliver, it means so much to them. And there's many of them say they'd do it for nothing, and they would. Well, there she is. There is Ashely. I don't know how much more I'm about to do, but they're little bitty pits for her. And, you know, if I was to continue on, I'd put in colors and that. But I never intended with this one to get into the color thing. That's another something else. So, little bit here, the edge of the corner of the mouth, a little here. But you see right there, what you saw at the very beginning was scribbles. The paper knew I was there. You know, this is in my imagination. The paper knew I was there, and it said, okay, go for it. And you saw just the scribbles there, and now you see a living person there. It's pastel. That'll last the next, oh, how many? That'll last the next several centuries. But aren't we having fun? Accuracy. Now you understand my definition of accuracy. My definition of accuracy is getting whatever the subject is giving you, and you can't help but put yourself in it. So it's not like you have to try to be somebody else, and you don't have to be like Van Gogh or whoever. You are yourself. Go for the accuracy, and your insides will come right out wonderfully. That's what counts. But you can only do it if you're doing it all the time. You can't, it's like a ballerina. If she's off of it for a few days, she pays dearly. This one here, I'm finishing it. It's finished for what I want. If I was to continue it, you know, but you have to know at this point that I got what I want and I can walk away from it. Not that it's finished, but it's got what I want at that moment. A wonderful little bit of bringing to life on paper, on a piece of paper. Granddaughter Ashely, and there she is. Now, as you know, doing a personal portrait takes a bit longer than doing just a sketch of somebody, and it doesn't have to look like that somebody. So, anyway, you can learn all this in my Harley Brown's Eternal Truths for Every Artist. I tell about this, and I tell about everything else. Maybe a couple of hundred more things. But yeah, my Harley Brown's Eternal Truths for Every Artist has been redone. And I did it not, I want you to know, not for the money. I'll tell you that. Many of my art friends have said, we don't do the books for the money. We do the books because we love it. And we want it to pass on what we know. And that I don't do workshops now, so I think I pass on a lot in my books. But I want to thank everybody here for watching, putting up with my yap. And Harley Brown is, I'm a cowboy artist and member of a lot of good organizations and a lot of artists. But you're watching old Harley there with his mask on. And it's just become a habit now. Look at that little bit, my signature. Whoa! And I want to thank you for watching. Really, I want to thank you for being here with me. And we're all together in this art community. We're together.